Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Mufti Menk knitting. I wanted to respond to this video that has now gone viral almost recently. As I looked at it, 944,000 views. And our brother Gabriel Al-Romani, he is...
La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. I'm pissed off, man.
He wasn't happy. Why wasn't he happy? What wasn't he said? Was it correct, his response to Mufti? And what did Mufti respond to him? This is what I'm going to respond to in this video, inshallah. He was very, very upset and very passionate about this. And there was many replies to him, negative replies to our brother Gabriel. And both Mufti and Gabe, they're very, dear to me. I love both of them very much. And perhaps you've seen, I lecture with Mufti all around the world. I've been working with brother Gabriel, which many of you might not know, since 2011. So for more than 10 years, we've been working together. And like I said, I love both of them dearly. So is his response to Mufti justify what he was saying? And is knitting really that big of a deal? To be honest, I don't agree with the approach of brother Gabriel and him coming out. I think he was a bit too passionate. He should have waited a bit. He should have thought it out a bit more. I believe the points that he made about masculinity, about the areas that we should be focusing on, archery, swimming, martial arts, making our kids strong in their bodies and their mind. These are all valid points that we need to focus on. And it's very important also, a great principle that we can gain by this, or from this, is the fact that different speakers have different styles and different approaches. And you have to, look at it objectively. So, brother Mufti, he's more of a soft-spoken, nice guy, comes off like this, has a huge impact on the people. He's doing a fantastic job, mashallah. Brother Gabe, he's trying to keep it real. He's coming, he's coming at you a bit hard, a bit harsh, but he wants to, awaken the fitrah within. So, all of them have good niyas, inshallah ta'ala. All of them, brother Mufti, when he's knitting like this, he has a good intention. I'm going to mention in a bit what is his objective from this, inshallah ta'ala, because that's one of the questions that brother Gabe is asking. What is your objective of making this video? He has an objective, and I understand where he's coming from. I don't agree that it was a good video. From the masculinity side, and also from the side that as a public figure, as someone who is a scholar, I don't believe this is befitting. This is my personal view. But I believe that many of the things that brother Gabe mentioned are very, very important and something we really need to focus on. We're living in a crisis. And I'm going to, inshallah, at the end of the video, I'm going to read the response of brother Mufti Menk and the response of brother Gabriel. Knitting, is that really that big of a deal? To be honest with you, when it comes to customs, it's very important to understand a principle that customs, adat, it might differ from country to country. But what Gabe is saying, that it's something that's feminine, it's something that's not masculine, it's something that someone of the status of Mufti Menk shouldn't be doing, 100% correct in our customs as Westerners. It's something that men don't do. Maybe things are different in Zimbabwe. We have to understand, when we have our brother Mufti, he's such a passionate speaker, such a good speaker. Even many times when I hear him, the wording he uses, I was like, wow, that's really good English. I love the way he articulates. It's really beautiful, mashallah. But we tend to forget that he's originally Indian, born and raised in Zimbabwe. So maybe in Zimbabwe, this is a normal practice. It's normal that men knit. I don't know. It could differ from country to country or from continent to continent. I know in North Africa, I have family from North Africa, and when they saw the video, they were like, no, that's not cool. It's not something that a man does, and it's not something that a scholar of Islam does. It's something they really looked bad at this video when they saw it, honestly. That doesn't mean in any way that Mufti Menk is not someone who's manly. And he had an objective. And brother Gabriel asked, what was his objective?
Allah musta'an. Our sheikhs are teaching us to knit. Okay, what's the objective of this video? I'll tell you what my objective is for my video, is to refute this kind of thing, because this is just not manly.
In my understanding of the objective of brother Mufti, and he can correct me if I'm wrong, but what I understand from him doing things like this, just like other speakers throughout the last couple of years, the likes of Sheikh Al-Arifi, Sheikh Salman Al-Ouda, who on their platforms, they started coming out without the headgear, showing you things just like now I'm filming from home. They're showing you in their house, they're bringing their kids. I don't like to myself go to that extent where I'm showing you the inner details and things like that, but they wanted to show the people a different side of the mashaykh, that we live a normal life just like everyone else. And something very interesting when it comes to that, you can actually take that and abstract that from the sunnah as well. And the hadith that brother Gabriel mentioned about the Prophet ﷺ sewing his own clothes and and helping out around the house. Different narrations of the hadith. But Aisha radiallahu anha, who narrated this hadith, she said that he was just like anyone else. He was normal. And that's a very important aspect, that it's not like the scholars and the mashaykh and the du'at, they're like these holy people who are just, floating through the dunya. They're normal people just like anyone else, and they do normal things like everyone else does. So this is clearly one of the objectives, inshallah ta'ala. I think the second objective is the problem that we're having in our households is that, our kids, what are they doing? They're sitting in front of the devices, they're ruining their minds, they're ruining their futures, they're ruining themselves. And one of the main challenges of parenting is making sure that they have enough activities to fill their time with beneficial things. So here in the video, Mufti said,
"So I'm just teaching my children how to knit. I learned to knit when I was 6 years old."
It's something that he learned when he was 6 years old, something he was young. Perhaps he feels is beneficial, and it's something positive that that children can put their time into.
Now my kids are learning. I just got them a set of knitting needles and some huge wool, and we said, let's go for it, mashallah. And inshallah, we can also spend our time a little bit constructively.
And if you were to compare it with sitting in front of a PlayStation or an Xbox, he has a point. So perhaps this was the objective of such a video, not just to get views or to be cute, or some people might think, because it's not just the people who are coming at Brother Gabriel. Other people are going to have negative things to say about Mufti when they see a video like this, because it's not just the fact that it's something that's not masculine in most customs that I know. And even Brother Gabriel in his comment, if you read, he said that he traveled around the world and he's always seen this as looking at something that's not masculine. There could be customs, once again, where it is acceptable. It's something normal. And this is a very important principle when it comes to the adat, from two aspects. Before we refute the one who does something that it might be normal in his custom, and secondly, us as public speakers or du'at, and like Brother Mufti who has a big platform, we have to think before we post things like this, because it might be cool in Zimbabwe, like I'm saying, I don't know. But when it comes to other customs around the world, that's something like when I first saw the video, I was like, looked at it with my wife, was like, nah, that's not good. I didn't make a public response about it, but I didn't like it at all. And it's something right away. The first thing I thought is, well, that's not what a man should be doing. When it comes to filling our children's time with that which is beneficial, what Brother Gabe mentioned about, shooting arrows, horseback riding, martial arts, running, being athletic, these are the things that they should be spending their time on. Even if you wanted him to knit, it would be something maybe you could teach him, in your own household. But I don't think it's something, honestly, you should put on social media. But in our customs, and that's why when Brother Gabe asked his daughter, Aisha, what was her response?
So what's wrong with knitting? I mean, is there something wrong with it?
It's supposed to be for girls.
Because that's how we look at it as Westerners. And I'm talking about the ones who are true to their roots, not the ones who have changed nowadays because what is publicly correct and what is not publicly correct. No, we're talking about how we were raised and how we look at things. When being a man meant being a man. And when you listen to Brother Gabe's video, you see that one of the reasons he is so passionate about this is because one of the things that he is focusing on is the issue of the alpha male, bringing the manhood back to men and creating leaders for the future.
I'm working every day almost talking about the Muslim alpha male society, pushing them to become leaders again. Their wives are complaining they're not men enough.
And to be fair, this is a serious problem that we are facing. And he's someone who has experience as a principal in Muslim schools around the world. And you see that the identity, the manhood of these young boys who are growing up, it's been taken away from them because of what the media and the social media platforms have been brainwashing our children. Therefore, he felt that when someone of the status of Mufti Menk came out with something that doesn't support, being a man, being an alpha male, someone who's a proper rajul, he was offended. If you look at the response of Brother Mufti to Brother Gabriel, talking about his video, he said, Habibi, my beloved brother, first time seeing you, mashallah, tabarakallah. So he didn't know Brother Gabe before, and he's praising mashallah. He sees he's out there trying to do work for the ummah. You can see from his page. So he's saying, mashallah, tabarakallah. He said, unfortunately, you have misfired totally. May Allah Almighty grant you the best of both worlds. Ameen. Alhamdulillah, he's making dua for the brother. And he said to him, wouldn't it have been better to seek a simple, direct answer before posting such a grand gift for me? I see you thoroughly enjoyed yourself here. And I have to say that I agree that it should have been a direct message to him instead of making it a public issue. Now, many would debate this issue saying that the fact that Mufti did it public, it needs to be refuted public. And this does have, its foundation, but it's not he's looking at being major because the issue of masculinity and what he's trying to focus on. I understand where he's coming from, but you can't make all things equal. So you have now, for example, the Yasir Qadi Shirk issue. Obviously, this is something major. So the scholars who spoke out and refuted that, mentioning him by name, yeah, he did it public, so we come back public. The other ones who are the, LGBTQR, P, whatever the letters are now, those who are publicly supporting that from the du'at and those who refuted them. Yes, this I can understand. That's something major. But here we're talking about knitting. I don't agree with it. I don't like it myself. But I don't think it's something that needed a public response. I have to agree with Mufti on this. Is it a form of backbiting? Because this is what you understand by what he's saying. This grand gift that you've given me, that you're giving me your hasanat, you're taking away my sayyi'at, my bad deeds. And I don't think this falls under backbiting because, there is the outlook or the view that if you're going to do something publicly, that you can be refuted publicly. And obviously, this is the opinion that Brother Gabe is following. Then if you look at the response of Brother Gabriel, he's also making dua for him, and he's saying that it's not a gift. He said, this is something that I stick by. It's what he believes and what he sticks by. And he said, made it clear, the Prophet ﷺ, he mended his shoes, he fixed his clothes, which he mentioned in the video, and he said that knitting is a very feminine thing, and our men need to be callers like you to teach them how to be real men. He said, talk a bit about masculinity of the Sahaba as our boys are losing themselves in the LGBTQT environment. And that's very, very true, something we really need to focus on. And this is one of the things that our brother Gabriel needs to be applauded for. He's working very hard in this. And many of the du'at are not speaking about this. Even some of the famous and prominent du'at are actually supporting this. And this is confusing our children even more and making them go even more astray. And he mentions here, obviously, he's been working for many years in their in the schools with the boys, and their fitra is being destroyed. And someone like you, mashallah, who has so many followers, may Allah bless you. Alhamdulillah. And this is, you see that both of them, even though they don't agree with one another, even though they've differed, that they're having alhamdulillah adab, and they're making dua for one another. And that's something very beautiful, something we need to reflect on, because a lot of times you might see in the wars that the general people have in their Facebook and their online, comments on Instagram, that it can sometimes get a bit nasty. You're talking about name calling, belittling, and degrading, and what have you. Then he gave some examples, maybe archery, wrestling, horseback riding, and many other activities that give them strength as it comes in the sunnah of our beloved Prophet ﷺ and the Sahaba. And if you look, subhanAllah, I don't know. I do follow Brother Mufti, but I don't have a lot of time to see all the things he posts. So perhaps he has posted things about this. I don't know that he hasn't. And he mentions here at the end in the culture and in the countries that he's visited, that knitting is a very feminine activity, something that moms teach their daughters, and something that a lovely grandma does with all respect. And if you scroll down, you see he says, what is the objective of this video? And I answered what I believe the objective of the video was, whether we agree with it or not. I do believe that our brother Mufti, that his intention is good, inshallah. And then he ends his response with some advice, and once again, wishing the best for our brother, Sheikh Mufti Menk. To sum things up, both of our brothers, they're beautiful brothers, and they're doing a fantastic job in their work for the ummah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala increase both of them and bless them both and their families with all of the best in this life and the next, Ya Rabbil Alameen. It's important for all of you, the ones who are the followers of the du'at, that you don't get involved and you don't choose sides. Even if we're to differ and you take one of the two opinions, don't let that cut out benefiting. So now, for example, for me, I don't like the knitting thing. But does that mean I'm not going to benefit from my brother Mufti? Does that mean I'm not going to recommend people to benefit from him? I didn't like the style that Brother Gabe, I think he came off a bit too hard. I agree with many of the points that he mentioned, but I don't believe it was the correct approach or correct style. But does that mean that I'm going to tell people not to go to his platform and not to benefit from his things? Of course not. And this is what I want all of you to realize, that there is right, there is wrong. I don't believe the knitting is a post that should have been posted, but I do understand his objective and what he wants to get across from that. And I believe that his intention, inshallah ta'ala, it was good. And Brother Gabe, even though he was a bit hard, I understand exactly where he's coming from. I understand what he's trying to do on his platform by trying to, bring the ummah back, bring young boys and the older brothers as well, to bring them back to being a proper rajul, a proper man. And he was upset that this type of, activity of knitting, that it goes against that. And he mentioned, several valid points. So don't look at just, the issue of him being pumped up, him being upset, of you loving Mufti Menk, so you're not going to take. Look at those points he mentioned about what we need to be focusing on, of raising our children to be proper rijal, proper men. This is something very important and something very neglected and something that very little of the du'at focus on. Wallahu musta'an.